weekend. All right, Elon Musk's pending acquisition of Twitter is poised to send shockwaves through society, but also the social media investing landscape. Joining us for more on this is Rohit Kulkarni, MKM Partners senior analyst. Rohit, always great to get some time with you. We're seeing, at least this morning, now I know you're not a Tesla analyst, but we're seeing Tesla shares under pressure on this news. How big a mess is Twitter going to be for Musk? Meaning, how much can he fix it, and how much a distraction do you think will be to him in his various other efforts?
Hey, thanks for having me. I think, Twitter has been a case study in kind of how a great business or a great company can have issues with business fundamentals, as in be it overhiring, underinvesting in technology, and not figuring out the exact go-to-market strategy, not figuring out the exact disclosure strategy. So there have been ebbs and flows in the levels of mismanagement in Twitter, in my opinion. So I think near term, I feel Musk, if this deal actually happens, needs to figure out the top level, C-level exec team that they need to have in place. He's been pretty vocal about criticizing existing management teams. So I wouldn't be surprised in the next 3 to 6 months, he figures out who would run Twitter. Until then, I think it's fair to say that he would be fairly distracted with probably putting more time in behind Twitter and putting less time behind other things. Obviously, he's a guy who works 30 hours a day, so I'm sure he can manage that.
Yeah, sending satellites into space orbit and ultimately producing electric vehicles for sustainability here on Earth seemed just a little bit more important in terms of prioritizing his time. But then you do have what will be a privately held company at that point in Twitter. How does that change what Twitter looks like in the future? Musk has also talked about in the past how he doesn't like the rigmarole of being a publicly traded company sometimes. And he was referring to Twitter back then, or referring to Tesla back then. He will get that chance with Twitter. What changes about the company?
Look, unlike a SpaceX, I think SpaceX is a case study as to how a large company can stay private for such a long time and yet have all the capital needs kind of satisfied in a way that they can. I think if Twitter can be that, I think there's no better person than Musk to facilitate that transition from a public to a private kind of player. But having said that, one thing that Twitter has is it's inherently going to be under public scrutiny. It's one of the widest known brands in the world, regardless of its size. More people follow Twitter for media than many other kind of media platforms. Sorry, Nora, but Yahoo here. But no matter what, there is going to be public scrutiny. So I think after the restructuring, after figuring out a very smooth running business, I feel it's in the best interest of Musk and his team to bring Twitter back to public markets. There is a scenario here that it may be longer than 3 years that what he initially contemplated. It could be 5 years, but it's better to come back to public markets, a much more smoothly run company, a much more well-managed business than staying private, because no matter what, there is going to be public scrutiny on Twitter. Not that politicians, world leaders, other leaders are going to stop using Twitter if it is going to be a private company.
Rohit, do you see Musk owning Twitter for the rest of his life? Or is this, he comes in, tosses out the existing management team, cans a bunch of underperforming executives that enjoy the free coffee and various other perks at Twitter, restructures the business, and he takes it public again in 3 years?
In my opinion, Musk is very, very passionate about what the core value prop of Twitter is. And in terms of how he himself has used Twitter for essentially evangelizing ideas and even to some extent getting product ideas from in a crowdsourced manner. So I feel he would probably be involved in Twitter as one of the largest shareholders. He is the largest shareholder right now. Whether he stays as the largest shareholder for the foreseeable future remains to be seen. I would guess that in the next probably 3 to 5 years, he's still going to be the largest shareholder. Beyond that, once he thinks the vision, what he wants Twitter to be has been achieved, he probably fades into the background. But I don't see him completely going away from Twitter, neither as a user nor as an investor at any time in the next call it 3 to 5 years.
You talk about monetizing Twitter further underneath of Musk, and it would need to be reliant on advertising and perhaps that remaining a baseline. However, you believe, and some of the other street analysts have also believed that that could be a detriment, having Musk over top of Twitter and advertisers not wanting to continue to advertise, at least in the same type of accelerated fashion that they had over years, even after Twitter added video. If you saw a decrease in advertising, then you have to increase the number of paid users. Is Musk alone enough to increase the amount of people who are willing to say, you know what, I'll pay to use Twitter? Would you pay to use Twitter?
Yeah, you're hitting a lot of challenges that Twitter has already faced in the past in terms of balancing monetization and balancing user growth. As in, ideally, they want both, but management in the past hasn't been able to achieve both. It's probably lack of resources, lack of vision, lack of execution, you call it. So if there is a way to manage both and on top of it, if there's a way to pivot the business model from complete advertising focus to a partial subscription and then advertiser subsidized, I think therein lies the challenge. Quite a few companies are trying to do that. If you look at what Snapchat is doing, Snapchat has a Snapchat Plus. They think they can get to 10 million users next year. Netflix is going that way. So there are a lot of web properties who are going either from advertising to subscription or the other way around. YouTube is doing that. So it is challenging. It needs focus, but I think that's the right step. So there would be a balance, and along the way, obviously, the biggest challenge is to have a stable user base. I think given what Musk can do and probably bring back a few other power users without taking any names, I think that should help with diversifying the user base and probably bringing back the polarizing views that Twitter brought to the table.
Well, one of those power users, Rohit, might be former President Trump. Musk was not keen on that lifetime ban for the former president. If he does bring back Donald Trump to the platform, do you think advertisers will completely flee the Twitter platform?
It's hard to say. Again, what I would say is there would need to be a mechanism for advertisers to be able to choose where their ads are being shown, and in a way that their ads feel to be next to content that they view as brand safe. I think that's the bigger challenge. It is okay to have content that could essentially not be kosher for a bunch of users, but so long as ads are not placed next to it, I think advertisers would be okay with that. So I think that's the bigger challenge from a product standpoint, where can Twitter, if they allow back users, if they just take out all the censorship, or at least the quasi-censorship that the company has, can they essentially go back to advertisers and say, by the way, we can ensure that your ads are not placed to the content that you feel is not brand safe for you, and these are the ways that we are going to help you do that. I think that's the bigger challenge from a product standpoint. I feel it's a much bigger problem to solve. Even Facebook and even larger companies have not been able to solve it in a more convincing manner. So they have just chosen to shy away from that content itself. So if Musk brings back a whole lot of content like that, then there is a bigger challenge for the company to solve.
MKM Partners Senior Analyst Rohit Kulkarni, always good to see you. Great analysis. We'll talk to you soon.
Thank you.